You're listening to Art of the Unknown, the podcast about traveling inwards, outwards, and onwards. Hey guys, and welcome back to the show. In this week's episode, I want to talk about spiritual awareness, intuition, and how they both relate to traveling. So what is spiritual awareness? That is the question that I have been grappling with for about the past week. The term awareness, I feel, is something that should be kind of self-explanatory, but I'm not exactly positive how it could relate to spirituality. In my mind, the word awareness is just what it says. You're aware of something. You have it in your consciousness. You kind of acknowledge its existence in a way. So basically my question is, what are you becoming aware of spiritually that you weren't aware of before? And this is going to mean different things to different people, but I guess one kind of way we can define it is that you are connecting, or you are connecting back to your soul. Becoming spiritually aware means being able to connect back into the part of you that maybe becomes blurred or becomes drowned out by different thoughts or everyday life or just different things that are happening around you. Or maybe it can mean having an increased perception of what's going on around you in the non-physical realm. Meaning that you're able to kind of pick up and understand and feel the things around you that aren't necessarily perceived by your five senses. Becoming spiritually aware means going beyond the five senses. Or maybe becoming spiritually aware just means that you're changing the way you think, and it's expanding not just towards you, but also the world around you. Either way, I kind of get the idea that spiritual awareness is going to mean connecting or communicating with something that isn't just of a different, not dimension, but is going to be of a higher power kind of deal. So it's going to be about connecting with your own higher self and your own inner wisdom. Those are going to be great places to start, but I also believe that part of this process includes being able to connect with other people, with nature, and ultimately your surroundings. Becoming spiritually aware and understanding and evolving through that process is going to be a different journey for different people, and that's going to mean that maybe certain people are going to be able to do things and pick up things differently, or maybe easier, or maybe more naturally than other people. For example, maybe you're the kind of person that's able to pick up vibrations from other people, or maybe you're more in tune with what your body is telling you and your wants and your needs, or maybe you're sensitive to the vibrations of the earth. No matter what it is, I think that this is all a type of awareness of something that isn't necessarily physical, but it's an awareness of something metaphysical. So everyone's experience here is going to evolve differently. We are all becoming aware of different things at different times and at different rates. Everyone's awareness is as unique as the experiences that brought them to the point that they are at right now. So I'm not really trying to generalize or speak for anyone else. What I'm doing is I simply just want to talk about what I know and talk about my experiences. And hopefully by doing so, it might maybe help someone realize or maybe even understand their own experiences or maybe their own spiritually awakening process. So, like I said, the term spiritually aware, I think that means being able to connect with parts of this reality that are outside of the five senses and outside of the experiences that we are conditioned to believe are the absolute. So being spiritually aware means, at least I think, it means having a increased perception of reality. And in order for us to connect with that reality, I think that the tool that we have, the tool that we already possess in order to do so, is going to be our intuition. Our intuition is what's going to allow us to pick up the frequencies and the vibrations and the energy that already exist around us without us necessarily being aware of it. And it's using those signals from ourself and those signs and those feelings and that kind of unexplainable experience that you have. It's going to be using all of those as a way to understand what's going on around us, even if we can't necessarily put those into words. And this information that we're picking up through whatever realm you want to call it, this information that we can gather with our intuition, it's going to help us not just survive on this planet, but it's also going to help us thrive here. It's going to help us be able to live and experience this life and this reality and this world that we're in. It helps us experience it fully and deeply and on a different realm than I think what we're used to. Maybe becoming spiritually aware means tapping into the universal intelligence or eternal wisdom. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, whatever that thing is that exists both within us and outside of us, it's here so that we can access it, that we can tune into it and be guided by it. We can trust it. We know that wherever our intuition or whatever these spiritual experiences are coming from, we know that we're able to go in that direction because the information that we're receiving, we know that it's needed. It's good for us. It's something that we can trust and go towards and ultimately believe that we're going to get and do and be where we need to be because there's something more that we don't understand. We can't necessarily maybe pinpoint it or put our minds on it, but we can feel it. And however anybody feels it or relates to it, that is their business all day long, okay? I'm just trying to tell you how I kind of see that aspect of our reality. So the question is, how does spiritual awareness and intuition relate to traveling? Wherever you are and whatever you are doing, you are affected by your surroundings, whether or not you are consciously aware of it or recognize it. So with that being said, I 100% truly believe there's more going on around here than meets the eye. So I think it's important to recognize that and use what we already have in order to be able to not just move around the world, but to have the best experience that we can while we're here. So by traveling and going out and seeing the world, you're able to pick up and understand and feel things in different areas and in different cultures that you weren't necessarily aware of before. And I really think that using your awareness and using your intuition, you're able to understand the world as a whole, not just by feeling it, but by traveling and going there. And by doing so, you're gonna be able to ground yourself more and understand the world better, and ultimately be able to move around and experience life as freely and as blissfully as possible. So I think traveling is a great way not only to practice and use your intuition, but kind of see where you're at in regards to how well you're connecting with yourself. Because when you go out there and it's basically, I don't know if you're traveling with other people or whatever the situation is, it's ultimately you walking this earth, and you have to be responsible for not just your safety, but being able to find your way and maneuver through this world that we all exist in. Because you know what? No one's going to do it for you. No one's going to be able to understand the world for you and find your way through the world for you. We are all responsible for our path that we walk, but also the direction that we go. So I think using your intuition and becoming more spiritually aware of yourself and your surroundings, it's going to make that walk just a little bit easier. And I really think it's going to lead you to where you ultimately want to go and where you need to go. So I've done a little bit of traveling in my day, and whenever somebody ask me what they should do or where they should go or if it's safe, the advice that I always give people is that you can pretty much almost walk anywhere safely around this earth, as long as you have two things. You are able to use your common sense and your intuition. End of story. I 100 truly and completely believe that those are the two things that you need in order to make your way not just safely through this earth, but happily, and have a good time doing so. And truth be told, common sense isn't as common as you would think, okay? There's going to be people out there, and I know some, and I'm sure you know some, who just really, really don't have a grasp on what this whole common sense thing is. And I know there's a few people that told me if they were going to leave the country by themselves, I would fear for their lives, okay? So not everyone has common sense, unfortunately, but I think, or at least I think that everyone could tap into their intuition and be able to use that as a way to guide them through this earth. So yes, trusting your intuition and trusting your common sense are imperative while traveling. No doubt about it, okay? The world is not as scary as people make it out to be. This is a fact. But you still need to be cautious and careful, because at the end of the day, you are in a foreign country, maybe by yourself, maybe not. Either way, you're in an unknown place, you're in an unknown surrounding, and ultimately you are the only person there that you can trust. So with that being said, you have to install and maintain that sense of confidence within yourself in order for you to move forward. And by using your common sense and your intuition, those are going to be the key things that you need in order to make it through this lifetime. So common sense definitely comes easier to me than trusting my intuition. Honestly, I am not really that great at it. I'm definitely still learning, okay? I am still learning how to not just recognize my intuition, but also to trust it. But looking back over the past, I would say like 5 years or so, I've definitely increased my ability to understand myself, but it's not coming easy, and it's really only going to increase by wanting to have that desire to open up that part of you and that realm and that ability to kind of perceive things on a different level. But it's also going to come through only through experience. You're going to have to do things that you shouldn't in order to learn that you shouldn't do them again. Honestly, that's how it sometimes needs to happen. So there's going to be a list of things that you know that you shouldn't do while you're traveling that are just going to be common sense to a lot of people. Like, don't go to sketchy areas after dark, or maybe just don't get drunk when you're in a foreign country, like stuff like that, which I think are things that are obvious, but not so obvious to other people. But that's going to be, I guess that could be a base, but you're going to have to build on that by using your common sense. By using your intuition, because there's going to be things and situations that you're going to have to get out of that aren't going to make sense to you. And they're sure as hell not going to make sense to other people. Okay. Maybe you're in a situation that you feel you just, for some reason, you can't even explain it. You just feel that it isn't right and you want to get the hell out of there. So you know what? You're going to have to leave. Or there's going to be times when you think you want to do something, but there's also something pulling you back because maybe you're just not quite there yet, or maybe it's not the right time. So being able to decipher between your intuition and your mind is not easy. Okay, let me tell you that right now. The mind is going to talk at 1,000 miles per hour. Okay, it is going to bombard you with reasons why you should or you shouldn't do something. And how are you supposed to know that what you're doing is something that you should be doing and that is right for you and that is something or is a direction that you should be going? Or what if it's just paranoia? Maybe it's your mind just running off with reasons why it's a bad idea when it's actually fine, when you're just kind of being a little bit crazy. And that is definitely what happens to me. Sometimes I just feel crazy. Like, I'm so sick of hearing myself think. I just want it to shut the hell up. Okay, I am freaking over it. But anyways, so understanding your intuition is going to have to come by eliminating those thoughts. It's going to have to come by letting go of what the mind thinks, what the mind wants, and what the mind is trying to convince you is true or logical or just simply just makes sense. And when I talk about connecting to your intuition and increasing your spiritual awareness, I'm not just talking about it as a way to survive in an area or get through something or make a decision. It's also a way to help you experience the surroundings and the country that you're in and the culture that you're in on a deeper level, because there are going to be things that you can't necessarily pick up by looking and by feeling or with your five senses. Okay, there's going to be things that you're just going to have to feel, that you're just going to have to experience internally, and it's not going to make sense, and it doesn't have to. So using your intuition and becoming spiritually aware is only going to benefit you in the long run, because it's going to help you understand the place and the environment that you're in on a deeper level. And I think you can really learn things about not just the culture, but also about yourself by being open to more than what meets the eye. So how does one increase their ability to listen to their intuition? This is a very difficult question because it's something that I have a hard time with, and only more recently have I been trying to listen to myself and my intuition, and it's coming along okay. It's still taking some work. It's not the easiest thing, but different things come harder or easier to different people, and listening to myself is just one of those things I'm still learning to do. Okay, so how do we communicate and open up that channel? I would say the first part would be actually believing that you can, and this is because you're going to have to acknowledge that there is a non-physical part of you that knows things and has wisdom that you can't really identify because you're in your mind, and you're going to need to understand that there's something else. You can call it whatever you want. It could whatever you want to call it, but just acknowledging that there is something else out there that can give you what you're looking for. That there is energy and vibration and knowledge and intelligence outside of you that sometimes can only be felt and not logically or mentally understood. So once you have that acknowledgement of that something greater out there, I think the second thing is you're going to need to want to communicate. You're going to want to have that desire to connect with your inner being and not just live in the mind all the time, because that is going to drive you crazy. So having that desire to connect with your inner being, that is where you're going to have to remove yourself from the mind, okay? Because the mind is a very, very cluttered place, okay? And with all of those thoughts and everything racing around at freaking light year speeds, okay, that is going to drown out and create so much noise that you can't even listen to the subtle voice that exists within you that is trying to be heard and trying to speak. So connecting with that is you're going to want to be able, you're going to need to want to leave the mind basically, and just accept that there are parts of you that have to be felt and not understood with reasoning and thought. And then a great way that I think to do this is to check in with yourself. You're going to have to understand how you feel and be completely honest with what comes up, okay? Because the mind is going to make up reasons to why you think you feel a certain way when that's not actually the case. And sometimes your intuition is going to tell you something that you're not going to want to hear, okay? And you're not going to want to listen to it because that doesn't match the expectations that you have or the wants that you have, okay? So being honest with what comes up and acknowledging that that is the truth, whether or not you want to believe it, is going to be very important too, okay? And I think a way to do this is by asking yourself a question and focus on how that question or that response makes you feel. Because again, it's going to be about moving from the mind to how the body reacts and listening to that as opposed to listening to the fear that is in your mind. Okay, so far I went over spiritual awareness, what it is, and also kind of sort of how it relates to intuition. So for today, I'm going to end here, and next week is going to be part 2 of this episode. And in that episode, I'm going to go more specifically into depth about how to use your intuition while traveling, why it's important, and basically some life lessons involved in learning and traveling and living. So, yes, tune in next week for all of that. And if you have any questions or if there's anything specific you want me to talk about, you can always email me or contact me via Instahipsta. My email address, or actually my website, is artoftheunknownpodcast.com. My Instagram is at artoftheunknown.podcast. And yeah, let me know what you think. And if you're feeling like you're feeling, you can always leave me a comment and or review. And yeah, just let me know what's going on. Okay, well, I will catch you next time.